Oquendo signed up to a prisoner Penpal scheme. The last thing she expected to find was true love.
But after reaching out to Victor, who's currently serving 24 years in a US jail for double homicide, everything changed.
And after just 1 year of talking, the couple decided to get married over Zoom, despite never having met each other.
But earlier this month, the pair were finally able to come face-to-face for the first time. And today, Naomi is joining us to share their very unconventional love story. Good morning, Naomi.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I guess my first question is, why did you want to start talking to a pen pal in prison?
So it began because I was doing a counselling course. So I was learning how to be a counsellor, but unfortunately it was completely cut short because of lockdown. So I asked my counsellor, you know, like, how can I keep practising my communication? And she said I really needed to work on my patience. So she said maybe a pen pal would teach me a way to be patient and wait for the letters to correspond, you know, back to me, and it would teach me patience. So I ran onto Google and Googled, like, international pen pals, and Write a Prisoner came up, which is a website full of inmates in America across, you know, all different states. And I thought, well, who doesn't need a friend, more like a prisoner who might not have anyone else? So I reached out and, yeah, the rest is history.
Wow.
You've got to know Victor now, so you know him deeply. But when you initially wrote to him, you would have had the headline we all read in the papers and we're talking about now, double murderer.
Yes.
So how did you get your head around that?
So I didn't actually look at his crime when I first wrote to him. I thought it was something that if he wanted to tell me, he would tell me. And he did tell me 2 weeks into our relationship, he opened up and he told me how, you know, he was 18 years old and he was put into a position where it was kind of kill or be killed. It was 5 grown men against an 18-year-old man. They shot at him, they wounded his thigh and his buttock area, and then he shot back, which resulted in a double homicide.
OK. He was convicted for that in...
Yes.
When did he go to prison?
2010.
2010.
Yes.
OK. You weren't intimidated by that backstory? Because it's quite a story, isn't it?
It is. I was a bit worried he was kind of pulling the wool over my eyes and maybe kind of glamorising something that's not happened, and it was maybe something a bit more premeditated and evil. But I did my research, you know, he was happy to share everything with me. And after talking to him for an extended amount of time, I realised that, you know, he was just a child that was in a bad position and had grown up in the most horrendous conditions. And I'm not sure what I would have done in that situation, let alone, you know, an 18-year-old boy. So it's something that I learnt to accept.
And how quickly did things start to sort of turn romantic?
Very quickly. I tried really hard to be a friend, and I kept saying, this is platonic, this is just me being an open ear for you to talk to. But it was when, I think we were about 10 days in, and he kind of told me that a lot of women had been writing to him wanting a romantic relationship, and I got really jealous. And he was like, let me call you and talk to you on the phone. And then as soon as we had our first phone call, we both agreed that we had been masking a lot of feelings that we had for one another, and that was it. From then on, I think he proposed to me like 5 days later, which I said no. Really? I said no.
So how far down were you in the relationship when he...
5 days in.
Oh, 5 days in.
Yeah,
okay.
So we've been talking for probably around like 10 days. And then when I found out other women were pursuing him, I kind of told him my own feelings. So we became girlfriend and boyfriend. And then 5 days later, he wanted me to be his fiancée, but...
So,
yeah.
Look, long-distance relationships happen, remote relationships happen. It's the way of the world now, and we have all these different Zooms and whatever. But a prisoner can't have that? You can't have video calls, can you? Or
yeah, we can have video visits.
Oh.
They were introduced because of COVID.
Okay.
They introduced video visits, but he can have 2 of those a month, but they're 20 minutes long each. So they're not something that's, like, very intimate. You know, you get 20 minutes twice a month. But it was amazing. Like, I'd been speaking to him for, like, 9 months without seeing him live as such. And then they introduced these video visits, and I can remember I was sat and my whole body was shaking, just waiting for his face to pop up on the screen. I kept thinking, what if he's catfished me and this isn't who I'm talking to? But yeah, he popped up on the screen, and yeah, it was just so intense, but yeah.
And how did it feel when you... Because was it last year that you flew out to Michigan to actually meet him?
This year. Literally a month ago, yeah.
Wow. How did that feel?
I've never been that nervous in my life.
Yeah.
Like, every single part of my body was shaking. My mouth was shaking, which I didn't think was even a thing you could do. But it was bizarre because it's like a horrible situation to be in, like going to a prison and having to go through security and being watched by these wardens. And it's a very uncomfortable scenario to be in, to meet someone for the first time, especially your husband. But as soon as I saw him, I was just calm and I was relaxed. And it was like, I say to people, it wasn't like I was meeting him for the first time. It was, my soul recognised his soul. Like, he is my person, and we felt so comfortable together, and it was one of the best days of my life.
Now, bear in mind, you were married at this stage because you got married during lockdown. Via Zoom.
Yes.
Can I just, I'm guessing a lot of people watching at home at the moment are going, what was she thinking? I'd imagine family and friends said the same to you.
I didn't tell anyone.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone we were getting married.
Did they know that you were speaking?
They knew I was with him.
Okay.
I think it gave it away when he kept sending me letters in the mail, and he basically did me this huge drawing of me and him on like a wedding day. Like, he wanted to, picture what we'd look like, and he did this amazing portrait of me and him with like poetry across it, and my mum opened it before I did.
Oh, what did she say?
She didn't say anything. She didn't say anything at the time. I think she kind of just kept like pushing it and thinking she'll tell me in her own time. And it was my brother that just said it over the dinner table. He's like, "Are you with him, or like, what is this?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's actually my fiancé." And
was there judgment?
Wow.
I think it was more worry than judgment. I think they were really worried. Yeah, I think they were worried that it was a scam, he was using me for money, or maybe he was dangerous, or even just the potential. He could be the best guy ever, but at the end of the day, I'm 27 and he's got 12 more years left. And what parent wants, their child to be waiting 12 years on someone? So it's more worry on their behalf. But I think, my mum spoke to him on the phone. He gets her Mother's Day presents and cards, and he asked for my dad's hand in marriage before we got married and things. So he's being as respectful and as kind as he can. And I think they know he's a lovely person. They just don't like the circumstance.
And you've decided to share the journey on your TikTok account.
Yes.
What made you want to do that?
I didn't at first. I was a bit unsure of, so my family didn't know. So I was like, well, things go viral. I didn't want the risk of it coming out and me not having a chance to explain myself. But I think I did a jokey video about this is what came out of lockdown for me. And most people were doing it as a joke, like I got a puppy from lockdown, or I got pregnant from lockdown. And mine was, well, I fell in love with my pen pal, and it just hit so many different
Should we have a look at it?
Of course.
Yeah, let's.
Have a little look.
Yeah.
The time has finally come. Travel to Michigan to meet my husband for the very first time.
I can't believe that I'm here. No one will ever understand how much I've wanted to be here in this moment right now. Oh my God, I get to meet my husband for the first ever time today, and I cannot believe this day has actually come around.
Oh my God, our first visit couldn't have gone better. It was everything and more. That was literally the best day of my life.
Wow, we've actually got a voice note from him as well, talking about the first time that you guys met. Let's have a listen to that.
Where you express yourself, the way you talk, the way you love hard, the way you care and support me, everything. And then I just started to fall in love real hard. Meeting you in person for the first time was the most nervous wreck ever, to be honest. I was nervous, but it was amazing. It was the best day of my life.
To be fair, he sounds like a nice bloke. What's he like?
He is the most kindest person I've ever met in my life. He's really selfless. He loves so hard, and all his life he's just wanted love. He's just wanted someone to love him, and he didn't get it from his mother. He didn't get it from his father, who sadly passed away. And his whole life, I think he's just been looking for someone that's going to actually love him and look after him and make him feel safe. And I think when he met me, and I fell for him as hard as he fell for me, and he says it all the time, he just doesn't know how he deserved it. And it's so hard to judge someone in his position, because I don't know what it's like to grow up in a childhood in foster care with drug addicts like parents, and being on the streets and having nowhere to turn and not being able to find your next meal. I don't know what it's like, and I don't know what it would be like to be in that situation. And the fact he's still so kind and loving and caring, even though he has every reason to be bitter and horrible, just says a lot about his character.
You can tell me, I'm blaming you for this question, to mind our own business here.
I think I know what's coming.
I know what's coming.
I know what's coming,
right? Because you get married and, you haven't been able to consummate your relationship.
Of course not, no.
How long do you think you'll have to wait?
12 years. But I'm hoping for earlier.
That usually happens after 20 years of marriage.
Yes, I know. We're doing it the opposite way. We thought, let's see if this works instead. But a lot of people ask me, they're like, were you able to consummate it when you met? Like, did they let you go into a little room? And I was like, I wish. I wish. But no, nothing like that. We weren't even allowed to hold hands over his lap or on my lap or anything. It's very, very strict in his state. But no, 12 years to go, but...
Big sacrifice, isn't it, Mommy?
It is, it really is.
It is.
Yeah, well,
it
thank
is.
you so much for your time today. What an incredible story. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing it with us. Yeah,
Oh, thank
really
you.
interesting stuff. Thanks.
Thank
Take care.
you.